Kids, aloha! You're back. You're back again. I told you it wouldn't be very long. I took care of the stuff I had to pretty quickly, and well, I had some coffee. I spilt it all over my shirt, so I would still be in that yellow shirt. But accidents happen, kids. You know, sometimes you have to be more careful well when you're eating or drinking. All I did was have one cup of coffee, and I think it was either Maymay or somebody hit me from below, and I spilt everything. Accidents happen. So the thumbnail, as I promised you just a little bit ago, was going to be on Marduk, which is called Planet X or Nibu. There's three names you can call it. This is a planet. Might as well start from the beginning. This planet is a big planet. I believe the size between Neptune and Uranus. I'm pretty sure the writings show it's bigger than Earth. And what happened was a long time ago, this Marduk that just so happens to be in the pyramids and all the old writings that nobody's talking about. That's why Uncle Martin's bringing it up. I know it's a touchy topic about the Nephilim, but we're finding out more things, so why not just throw it out there? Let's see if the spaghetti sticks to the wall or not. If it's going to be really done for anybody to consume, to understand. Okay, so I'm just giving you facts. You can take them or leave them. Just put it on the back shelf. You don't have to believe anything. Just it makes a nice story. From what I understand, it is a true story. If these guys were writing it thousands of years ago, which is how our solar system started, how we became who we are, the Earth. At one time, the Earth was a lot bigger than it was. Now, there are some different theories in the past that we've had there's a breakaway theory where our moon is because it came out of the Pacific Ocean and blah, blah, blah. But now that we've been to the moon, we know the breakaway theory. Hopefully you're not being taught that in school. I'm sure they wouldn't be doing that. But the moon really did not come from this planet. We know that by all the stuff, all the rocks that we've brought back so far. It's not really quite part of the Earth at all. It's part of another place, which I might as well get into. The the planets that we have right now, they're trying to kick Pluto out. All right. Now, what I would be saying is, we didn't know about all these other planets until like the 1800s. I think we knew about it. Precurn, the guy with Precurn, that guy. He had said in the 15th century that there were other planets out there, and wasn't able to see it, but he could tell by the polarities that there was other planets out there. And then there was a bishop that wrote him a letter and said, yeah. And the guy in the 15th century, he didn't talk about this until like on his deathbed because they were like burning people and stuff, talking about this planet not being. If you said it was round, you didn't last very long. It was flat. And then of course we found that our Christopher Columbus, they're saying, well, and I'm going to have one on him too because he was a fantastic guy. He did so many things to enlighten us because we were in the dark ages. Prior to that, everybody knew about this being a round circular planet. That's what I'm getting to, that all the Sanskrit writings knew about it. And how could they possibly know about that? That this was a round planet, a spherical planet. Well, it was because of the people that were here, I guess 450,000 years ago. I guess that's what the writings show, that these Nephilim were populating the planet at that time. And I'm not going to regress here, but we got Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, the Earth, Venus, Mercury. We got to throw the moon in there, and then the sun, which are 11. The 12th one is the Planet X one that apparently all Egypt knew about and all the Sanskrit writings knew about, but we have been left in the dark until recently, that we know now that there is a 12th planet. And by all these writings that we've uncovered in the last 100 years, we know that it shows up every 3,600 years. Every 3,600 years, this planet X shows up. Where does it show up? Where does it show up at? Well, it happens to go right in between Jupiter and Mars. It goes through that area. And it has 4 moons. It did have 7 moons, but it lost 3. Which I might as well explain now, I guess, by the writings. When Planet X came through, when we were bigger, it did hit us, and it separated us into 2 halves, a higher and a lower half. And then it went on its merry way for another 3,600 years. And when it came back again, it hit the bottom part, and that's where all the asteroids and they call it the belt. Sanskrit has it as the hammer that has around Saturn, the rings of Saturn, and that's how that happened, where we then we had water, but we had more water because of Planet X having water, and we got inundated with more water as a sphere, but we wobbled. We had a rotation, but we wobbled. As we all know, we do a little wobble every now and then. So the moon at that time, with everything happening the way it did, the moon came from, in the writings, it came from Saturn. One of Saturn's moons got around us to where now we had an orbital sphere around us. And the moon was a protector, was our protector. And if you look at it, even now we know that there was a mess of stuff hitting that moon. And if it wasn't in front of the Earth, we would have been inundated with a whole lot more holes. And actually, that's not that we never did get a meteor here and there. I believe it was something like 260,000 years ago. There was a meteor. Why do they call Arizona the Valley of the Sun? Because that's what happened 260,000 years ago. Some asteroid comet came down at this angle, hit, and then it went out again. And if you ever notice that we from the air, we're in a valley. You can't get out of Phoenix unless you go through a mountain range. Yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there for you. Anybody in Arizona, Phoenix, or coming here, we're the Valley of the Sun, definitely. So we have been hit before at different time periods with different asteroids and comets. Mile Crater up there, and I was there at 5. It's not much to see except big hole, but we've been hit, definitely. So we have a planet that comes around every 3,600 years that apparently some people are talking about and some people don't want to talk about. It has 4 moons to it, and when it comes by in between Jupiter and Mars, that's when it's visually able to be seen by our eyes. And that's what's been written down, that it's called, well, they call it Marduk, Planet X, and Nibiru, all different these names, but it's a reddish planet that is visible to our eyes. And when it comes through, in the visual, there's all kinds of writings that's happened during that time period. I did bring it up in one episode, but I didn't bring this planet into it. But the current event that I brought in my third, fourth grade out of my four fourth grades in Triangle School in Hillsborough, New Jersey, it read that the woolly mastodon eating buttercups and grasses was frozen solid in the middle of its chew. So what? So Siberia is cold. Yeah, now it is. But back then, when it had the mastodon, it was a jungle. So if it was a jungle, how could a mastodon be frozen solid like that? That was the current event. That's all they had. And then, as I said in the past episodes, when I started reading, when I got out of school, I found that it wasn't just the mastodon. It was the 10-foot woolly mammoth. It was a saber-toothed tiger. It was a red squirrel. Whatever. There was other animals around, all eating and being frozen. And that was during one of the time periods that Planet X was coming by the way. And it's not going to ever hit us, so don't get excited about that. It's already done that millennia ago. But when it does come by, the 4 moons that it has a polarity that affects the Earth. And it's happened every 3,600 years that they got things written down. As I had said in the past, the sun stayed for 24 hours at noon. Then another time period, China has written down that it was 3 days that was noonday sun. And then they got another time period in India that for 7 days it was pitch black. No sun at all. So these are all 3 periods of time that it's called the rebooting of our planet. It kind of, it's like a gyroscope. It's all wound up, and as you know, gyroscopes, when they get to a certain point, they stop, and then after they stop, they reboot, and that's what this planet does every so many thousands of years, when this planet, Nebu, Planet X, or Marduk, whatever you want to call it, comes in between Mars and Jupiter. Perfect. I've heard a lot about it since 79, 80 and all that, and recently you can't get anything on really what's out there. So I guess maybe we'll have to wait till visually we get to see it or something. But it does come our way every 3,600 years. Okay. So these Nephilim, what does Nephilim mean? What's Nephilim? It means, well, the Niph, the fallen ones, the giants that came onto this planet, and biblically even they're the guys that excuse me, that found women quite adorable. So, and the offspring, you got big giants. Which brings me back to past lives when Bella said, yeah, well, when you were done on Mercury, you came here. You were a giant. I said, I was a giant? Yeah. Yeah, but you had such strength. You had such power that when you lorded it over people, it was very negative. And what happened was, as I said in the past, those little Lilliputians, they pulled me down. They pulled me down, and well, they didn't kill me. So I must have been a kind of a positive giant, or not that bad a guy. They let me go because she said, after they did that to you, you were never the same again. Really? Never the same again? Reminds me of all those little bully stories that I've told you in the past. Once you take care of them, you little mice, these guys are never the same again. And that happens with anybody that deals with a bully. After you not started the fight, you didn't run from it. And maybe it was just through the arm wrestling. Or maybe you had to go another route. these people that you stood up to are never the same again. Isn't that interesting? So we got these Nephilim that have, the writings have said, at least 450,000 years ago, and they have a lifespan that's thousands of years old. And that's apparently because when you're on a planet like theirs, it takes 3,600 years to orbit the sun. And since they're like 6 times further out than Pluto from us, it takes quite a long time for us to be able to see this planet, which apparently we're going to be able to see pretty soon someday, I guess. I don't know if my lifetime, but maybe you kids will get to see it. So keep your eyes open between Jupiter and Mars. See if you see any reddish planet. So the last episode I had was the 2 twin brothers, which brings us to, coincidentally, 2 twin brothers that were here quite a few thousand years ago. That well, let's see, Enki, he was in charge of making the marshlands and the waterways. It's all written down. I'm not making this up. He was in charge of making the canal system, making the dikes and water levels, purifying the water. I guess it was the Tigris and those areas, those 2 rivers that were out there flourishing. So all these guys, and this is during there was 3 ice ages that we all know about. So this is during one of the ice ages that it was kind of harsh out here, and they were stuck down here doing all the work apparently because there was other guys up in a little higher area. Which brings me to the point that anybody wants to say there was no flying machines or spacecraft, well, I guess they just haven't read any of the Sanskrit writings yet, because they've got things. We got pictures of it. There's some gal in some goggles. She has a helmet on. Looks like some kind of ear things. And there's guys with it looks like a wristwatch on. Was that a communication device? Some people say it's a watch. Well, maybe a watch, but it couldn't just be some kind of communication device. We have people strapped in with straps and stuff on their back. We got guys with wings on, which might be just ornamental, but just trying to put across that these guys were flying, these guys. And also we have this extra planet that keeps popping up, and all the planets that are up there, there's this extra planet. There's an extra planet still up there. And that one has a circle to it with wings on it. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Well, that's Planet X, by the way. So people are starting to understand this when they start really deciphering the tablets, like we're still doing. There's a library that was totally well, they burn a lot of libraries from Alexandria to even today. They're burning on books, but this one, I believe it was in Nibia, Nibia. They didn't have paper. They wrote it all down on tablets. So a lot of these tablets, the place burnt down, and the tablets actually got fired more, but they did break. So now they're putting all this stuff together. And all the stuff that I'm talking about is like yesterday news. Not only was there spaceships, but they had like atomic warfare stuff. And that's where Sodom and Gomorrah comes in. It would just kind of, how did that happen? Well, they said that God did it, but we've, if you go to other places that people have never seen you before, like you got, just different attire on and everything. The natives, the pygmies, and all these people that never saw us before will come over and start, different hair, faces, and they start calling you a god. Go figure. All you do is you have a flashlight. So we've got these people, the Nephilim that appear, and they were doing forging of ingots, getting different minerals, putting stuff together. We've got a lot of pyramids and zaggurats that can't be explained, but I talked about that a little bit on Atlantis. Had so much to do with that. But these giants had a lot to do with it too. They were able to move a lot of rock and do things that we're still working on doing. So, kids, I'm sure they're telling all you preschoolers and kindergartens. You're probably saying, "Wow, is this really true?" And then you're looking around. I'm sure you're going to have your parents and guardians saying, "Yeah, Uncle Martin's actually telling the truth." And if they're not, well, maybe you just want to look into a little more of the Sanskrit writings that they've just recently found in the last 100 years. Okay, so they called in one of the writings the spaceship guys. It was called Shu. They they had writings that were Mount Ararat. Go figure. That sounds biblical. Mount Ararat apparently was some of the landing zones of these guys with their spaceships. And if you look at geographically, it is right around Mesopotamia, Sumerian, all these areas and it's like the lower one's 15,000, the other one's 17,000 high. So it has a good peripheral view of everything. It's a lot of big things have always happened up there. I guess that's why you can't go up there, I guess. They have some kind of thing you can't go up there anymore. Wonder why. Well, maybe they've got maybe they are doing something. Mount Ararat, wasn't that where the Ark ended up? It's Mount Ararat right there. It's just coincidence. So we have all these things that either are coming out or not. I've found recently that there's a lot of questions coming up with these guys that have wings on in the pyramids and how they have watches, and this type of watch that I guess you can Google what kind of watches they are. This is an emblem that everybody had from that time period on their chariots, on their house. I mean, was everybody communicating somehow or something? I don't know. You got to think. You have ships that are in 3 stages in these tablets that are rockets, for crying out loud. And there's 2 guys up there in the top rocket, and then there's the other 2 that go down. Very similar to the ones that we've used. We just go back to the time periods. I guess it was in my episode 8. I went to 4 6th grades, but we were all together as a class. So in one of those schools, I do remember that India and all these sacred places that have had the original buildings that get demolished, they build on top. So you got civilization upon civilization building on top of each other. So in India, they dug down 9 levels. And like on the 9th level, they found some green glass that was totally melted down, just like they found in the desert of Nevada after the atomic bomb was put off. All the sand, how it solidified and turned into glass, that exact same thing was at the bottom of like the 9th civilization. So we apparently have been dealing with warfare from a very long time. And I think it's time that we just kind of let that stuff go to where it's rather negative. And I believe mankind is coming to this understanding right now, kids, that we don't want any more war. We're tired of it. It's I think we're becoming more spiritual warriors than actually the physical kind of warriors. I'll go into that at another time. So This is a short one too. I did give you two on this Sunday since I missed last Sunday. But just to keep in mind that there is another planet in our solar system that does show up every 3,600 years. And when it does, that was what I was saying. Things do get shaken up to a certain point, but it doesn't last very long. And these rebooting of this wobble that we're on, it happens. But not to get excited about it, because everyone out there listening to Uncle Martin, you will be at the right place at the right time. So just throw fear out the window. It's not even necessary. It's just something that happens every 3,600 years. I don't know where we are on that scale. I guess when we start seeing a reddish planet in between Jupiter and Mars, we might start thinking about whatever we have to think about. Okay, kids, I told you it would be a short one. So that's all I really wanted to put out there was we do have another planet here, even though they're trying to get rid of Pluto. I believe we even have a couple more, but they're not bringing that forward yet. So that's all I'm going to say for you right now. I'll have something really, something different for you the next time I see you next Sunday. Although I am off on Tuesday, I might throw something in the ringer here on this Tuesday coming up. We'll see how it rolls. So until I see you again, be well. Aloha. Until we see each other again.